the Warriors and Durant did exactly what they're both supposed to do with a free agent. If what they did is wrong,
not
then
according
don't
to
have the free
NBA.
agency.
Not according to NBA. You're as a free agent, you're supposed to go get the most money.
Shut the fuck up and listen to me!
Welcome to #Dave Speaks.
Welcome back to another episode of #Dave Speaks. I am extremely under the weather right now. I'm the only idiot running around New England with a head cold in the middle of June. But I am sick, and you're going to be able to tell that I am just by listening to this podcast. I do not feel well, so there's going to be a lot of sniffling, coughs, and sneezes going on. But I am back with another episode of #Dave Speaks. This one's not about Dustin Pedroia, because he's hurt. But he also cleaned up his act, so I'll give him credit there. This one's not about Jimmy Butler or the Bulls or the Celtics or Brad Stevens. No, it's not about that. This one actually has nothing to do with Boston sports. Okay, this is just a #Dave Speaks. This is my conversation that I wanted to continue based on something that we did on the Boston Sports Nerds podcast, which, of course, you can go rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. Just search Boston Sports Nerds podcast or B.S.N, and they'll pop up there. You can check out the show. And in the beginning of this podcast, you heard Joe and I kind of going back and forth a little bit about, we were talking about what Kevin Durant did this offseason by joining the Warriors. And Aaron and Joe on the show both kind of tagged up and said, the point of free agency is to go make as much money as possible. I have a problem with that logic, because the point of free agency and the incentives that they've added in free agency is to try and make a more level playing field. So a small market team can pay more money to their own players, so then that way they wouldn't just up and leave for a better deal somewhere else. So what that means is, if you have any grip on the NBA contract rules and stuff like that, God bless you. But basically, there's a term called bird rights. Bird rights means you've been with the team long enough to earn a bigger contract. You can go over the salary cap, and you can go into the hard cap, is what they call it. So you can spend more than what your salary cap says you can to keep a guy that's already been yours for a certain amount of time. I believe it's 3 years. I believe so. That's all well and good when you're the Utah Jazz and Gordon Hayward's a free agent and you don't want him to go to Miami, which is a ideal destination. Not a better team, but it is a bigger market. For some reason, I don't see Miami as a huge sports town, but I guess the Miami Heat, it makes sense. The destination works there. Anyways, if you're the Utah Jazz, the one chip you have in your pocket because you're fucking Utah is A, you were better than the Heat last year, and B, we can pay you a lot more money. And it doesn't sound like Gordon Hayward gives a shit. Right now, it doesn't seem like it's about the money. And I don't know if it's about the winning. I think the Jazz are a better team than the Heat. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, the rules and the benefits and the exceptions when it comes to free agency work when it comes to the Utah Jazz and Gordon Hayward. It's a way for a smaller market team like Utah. You have automatic leverage in negotiations because you say, hey, you could leave, I get it. We're not that good. We're in the middle of nowhere. Or we're in the West. And to be quite frank with you, I don't see us beating the Warriors anytime soon. I know all that, but we can make you more money. We will pay you more money. That's the point, right? Just want to make sure we're all on the same page. That's the point of all the incentives in free agency. Hold on. Because what if the Miami Heat had Gordon Hayward and he wanted to go to Utah? You're going to say that Miami gets to pay more money on top of being a bigger market? On top of being a more ideal destination? That doesn't make any sense, right? That fucks the small market team. So, who's a player? Who's a player here? A guy like Carmelo Anthony, right? New York's a big market. It is. It's not a good basketball team anymore, but it's a big market. Carmelo Anthony, let's say that he wanted to stay. And let's say, oh, I'm sorry, no, he wants to leave. Let's not say that. Let's say the Knicks wanted to keep him. You're going to tell me that if Carmelo Anthony wanted to join, what's a good team? Like the Sacramento Kings? Let's say he's like, I just want to go out west. I want to be the guy on another bad team for whatever reason. Okay, I know this is a really, really deep hypothetical. But you're going to tell me that the New York Knicks can pay more money and be the bigger market? Don't use the NBA's props when it makes your point and forget that it doesn't make your point half the time. If you want to say that the point of NBA free agency is to make the most money, well, then you would always stay with your team. And the free agency thing wouldn't matter. It just is an opportunity. It's a facade. But if what you were supposed to do was always take the most money, that means you would always stay with your team, which means that you would never, ever create balance. Okay? So throw that out the window. That's a smokescreen. They don't give a shit about that stuff. Right now in the NBA, there's one good player on every team, I think. Good, not great. Take me to the Sacramento Kings. I like the kid they traded for, the rookie. His name escapes me right now, but I like him. New Orleans Pelicans have two players I like. Buddy Hield. I like Buddy Hield. I like Ben McLemore. Every team in the NBA has a player that's good. They don't always have one that's great. There's two teams in the NBA that have three really, really good players. And there's one team in the NBA that has four. To get to the point about Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant is being grouped in, and also not just by the nerds, the fellow nerds on the show, but also I've seen a lot of media people and a lot of people, but basketball fans, say that what he did was worse than LeBron James. I don't think so. But I don't think so because I have a dog in that fight. I don't like LeBron James. LeBron James is in the East still. LeBron James created a super team which superseded my Boston Celtics. I hold a grudge. I don't like LeBron James. I don't like the idea of building your roster. I think the way the Celtics did it with having a guy and then making a trade and making a move and making a move and having to make moves to get better makes more sense to me. Like, that's more respectable than just saying, oh, you, and you all opt out. We'll find a team that'll fucking sucker up and they'll get all of us. They'll be able to cut fat and we'll just move to wherever we gotta go. Kevin Durant was a free agent. Kevin Durant didn't tell anyone that you leave, and if you make this much money and I make this much money and you make this much money, this team will be able to afford us all. Kevin Durant went window shopping. Checked in with the Knicks, I believe. I know he came to Boston, hung out with them, and went to the Warriors. There's two types of players in sports, I believe. There's winners, and there's rich. Being one doesn't mean you can't be the other, but one of them is always the priority. Tom Brady's rich, but he's a winner first. Michael Jordan's rich. He was a winner first. Dale Revis has won a Super Bowl, but he was rich first. And I don't even mean chronologically speaking. Like, of course, Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in his second season, coming off the bench. Like, of course, I don't mean that. I just mean his mindset was always, do what you got to do to win. And I think Dale Revis was, do what you got to do to get paid. And that's okay. I favor one, but I understand both. And it's funny that in basketball, it feels like in basketball more than other sports, we forget exactly what we want to forget. We've made LeBron and Kevin Durant seem like some sort of generational millennials that, like basketball millennials that got what they wanted and they took the easy way out. And the same things that people say about millennials is what we say about Kevin Durant and LeBron James. But, like, let's go way back in history, like approximately 50 years. Right? Wilt Chamberlain, 1968. He led the NBA in assists and rebounds. He earned the MVP. He was fed up with 76ers management. He demanded a trade to the Lakers team that already had Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. They had made finals in 5 of the 7 seasons prior to Wilt Chamberlain joining them. Wait a minute. He demanded a trade which says, you do this or else I'm not going to play, I'm leaving, whatever. Kevin Durant didn't tell anyone anything. He didn't dictate anything to anyone. Probably tired of losing in Oklahoma City. They were building, but they also were falling apart at the same time. No James Harden anymore. No Serge Ibaka anymore. Like, they were good. They were very good. They were up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors just a fucking year ago. But they weren't the same. Like, this wasn't a upwards moving thing. It was like Westbrook and him. And then what? Because you got rid of everybody else. So in his time, which he was completely allowed to leave without dictating or regulating anything, he said, I'm going to put myself in the best position to win. Because he wants to win. I don't know if he was a winner first or rich first. I don't know. But I know that he wants to win a championship. And he's engaged in these finals. He's a part of the reason why they're up 3-1. He didn't just ride along here. I mean, Jesus Christ, Kevin Durant's averaging 34.2 points per game in the NBA Finals. 34 points. It's not just Wilt Chamberlain either. Back in 1973, Earl Monroe couldn't win it all with the Bullets, so he demanded a deal and he refused to play, ending up on a Knicks team that had won the championship a year earlier. Teamed up with Clyde Frazier, Willis Reed, and 4 other Hall of Famers, they won another title in 1973. The trade changed Monroe's legacy to that of a player whose career was remembered as having plenty of substance and not just flash. I said on the show, on the podcast, that in 15 years, 20 years, we're not going to give a shit about what's been going on with the Players League here. We think, oh man, these millennials, they're getting what they want. Do a lot of people hate Clyde Drexler? Like, is there a big thing about Clyde Drexler? Because Clyde Drexler lost twice in the NBA Finals with the Blazers. He then requested a trade to a team where he might win a title. He ended up in his hometown of Houston with Hakeem Olajuwon, where they won in 1995. We don't fault him for failing to make it over the hump in Portland. We celebrate his eventual success in Houston. This article, by the way, is on SBNation.com. Let me give credit to that. What about Bill Walton? Especially in Boston, we love him, right? Bill Walton, he fought the Trailblazers, demanding a trade and sitting out an entire season when they refused to honor it. The man sat out an entire year when he didn't get what he wanted. But, you know, these millennials, these Kevin Durants, these LeBron James, when his contract with the Clippers was up, he limited his choices to the dominant Lakers and the dominant Celtics. Does that sound like, oh man, who's the guy? Oh, Kevin fucking Durant. When his contract was up, he limited his choice to a dominant blank. Bill Walton eventually having a late career resurgence with the Celtics. We find his contributions to those Celtics as a symbol of his perseverance, not a sign of his weakness for refusing to stick it out in Portland or San Diego. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He eventually got tired of living in Milwaukee. So he demanded a trade to either New York or Los Angeles. With the Lakers, he eventually was joined by Magic Johnson and James Worthy, and he won 5 championships. You remember Abdul-Jabbar as a member of the Lakers dynasty, not so much as the young buck who played next to Oscar Robertson under the name Lou Alcindor. Alcindor. Shaquille O'Neal left Orlando as a free agent for the Lakers, where he played with Kobe Bryant, and he won 3 rings, and then he demanded a trade to Miami, where he also won a ring. We don't fault Shaq for team switching. We don't say he's a championship chaser. We view him as an all-time great, capable of shaping the NBA to his desires. Though Shaq was great, because Wade wasn't that guy going in. Like when Shaq went there, Wade wasn't that great. And Kobe wasn't that great. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were good young players. It wasn't like joining Kyrie Irving. It wasn't like telling your GM, hey, why don't you trade Andrew Wiggins to get Kevin Love and I'll come back. It wasn't like saying, hey, we'll get Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. We'll all fucking sign back up here in Miami. Kevin Garnett even suffered many years in Minnesota, eventually got traded to Boston to play with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen. We would never view Garnett as the wise old man of the NBA if he hadn't won a ring. He never would have won a ring if he kept fighting on hopelessly in Minnesota. I believe it was Colin Cowherd that said it pretty well. We kill a guy for not winning a championship in his career. But then when a guy makes a move to try and win a championship, we kill him for making the move. The same way that I said that super teams have been going on in the NBA forever. Forever. Go back. Do your homework. Look at the dominance of 1 or 2 teams throughout the history of basketball. Every era has a team. The Lakers went to like 9 out of 11 finals in the 80s. Late 70s, 80s, 90s even. The Celtics won, 11 of 13 championships in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. Michael Jordan did win 6 championships out of 8 years. Kobe Bryant has 5 championships and 7 appearances in like 15 years. Every other year, just about. It's been happening forever. Don't Don't buy into it like the, oh man, this is bad for basketball. Was Michael Jordan winning 6 out of 8 championships bad for basketball? Was that any better for basketball back then? Was the Lakers being in 9 of 11 finals better for basketball than having a three-peat between the Warriors and Cavs? Or having LeBron James be a part of 7 straight finals? Was having Bill Russell win 11 of 13 championships back then better for basketball? No, it's the same, but we forget exactly what it is we want to forget. The NBA is on loop, man. It's a good product. Poke holes in it wherever you want, but just do your homework while you do it. Players have been holding out, demanding trades, leaving, chasing championships for years, for 50 years. And big-name players at that. This isn't your average Joe. Earl Monroe wasn't just your average Joe. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wasn't your average Joe, just hoping to get an opportunity. My God. Go back, do your homework, read up on it. The NBA has been what it's been forever. And if you like basketball, then you'll always like basketball. And you would have always liked basketball. The dominance, the player preferential treatment, the super teams, the championship chasing hasn't changed. It's been like this from day one. I dare you to find me an era, a decade, where there wasn't a guy that jumped ship to try and get a championship. I dare you to find me a decade where there wasn't a team that was in more than the majority of the finals. Was in more than the minority of the finals. It's always like that. There's always a team. There's always like 1 or 2 teams that are really, really good. And the rest of the league is And you could say like, oh man, let's see, like the late Celtics run in the 80s, 90s. Well, that Pistons team, the Pistons team was good. The Pistons team was good like how, like the Spurs are good right now. Like, you kind of felt like they could beat Golden State, and then there was an injury. Like, yeah, no. But, like, would you have been shocked if San Antonio beat Golden State this year? No. They're a good squad. They got a good coach. Detroit finally got over the hump. Losing to the Celtics all the time in the East. Finally broke through. A couple of years, if the Celtics do the right things, and if they have a squad here in 3 or 4 years, the Cavs are going to disassemble. They're going to fall apart, and the Cavs will break through, and the Celtics will break through. The same way the Pistons did. Same thing with the Rockets. The Rockets had to wait until Jordan was retired. They were always a good squad. Really good team. Won their championship as soon as they could break through. Basketball has been what it is right now. And anyone that sits there and says, oh my God, I hate this about basketball now. Ugh. Like, I say that the level of talent was probably better back in the day, but that's because they were perceived to be so great. In 20 years, the people that watch basketball now, that are like 15 years old, are going to tell me that this was the best era of basketball, and they might be right. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, the greatest three-point shooter of all time. Oh, they had a team that went 73-9, and oh, they blew a 3-1 lead in the finals. It was crazy. I give a shit about it less now. I like it. I still like basketball. It doesn't hold a candle to what I watched growing up, but that's because I was told how great it was then. In the same way that we're being told how great LeBron James is now. And in 20 years, he's going to be remembered just like Bird and Magic. And this Durant and James will be like Bird and Magic. Except for, I don't think they really dislike each other as much as Bird and Magic did. Like Anthony Davis will be like the Patrick Ewing. I mean, you could do it. You could do it all now. DeMarcus Cousins is sort of like the, who was a big bad guy there back then, like a big tough son of a gun. He's better than Alonzo Mourning. but that kind of thing. Like, there's always, the comparisons are just unreal. They're always going to be there. A guy like Draymond Green is like this year's Dennis Rodman. It's like 5 years ago was Ron Artest. Rinse, wash, repeat. The NBA's on loop. What Kevin Durant did was be a winner first. And don't let the NBA incentive small market program fool you, because it also works the other way, and that squashes small markets. Luckily, Carmelo Anthony doesn't want to be a Knick. And luckily, the Knicks don't really want Carmelo Anthony to be a Knick either. But they could use the incentive program to their advantage and crush another team that may want Carmelo Anthony. This has been another episode of Hashtag Dave Speaks. You can go on iTunes, you can rate, you can review, and you can subscribe. Hit me in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Just keep your eyes open. Enjoy basketball. If you like basketball, enjoy it. Stop doing this. Stop making it worse than it is. It's been happening forever. And if you don't believe me, just go do your homework. This has been Hashtag Dave Speaks.
Shut up, Dave!